So like I had to share my parents with 30 plus other teenagers. So like when like those are the times when I had like I was like, oh, I wish I could have my parents to myself, you know.
That's the reality of being a missionary kid, right?
Yeah, like you gotta. But when you lose something, you gain something. As much as like
connection,
right?
Welcome to the Lost and Local podcast. We're Adam
and Hannah,
two Korean citizens who grew up abroad and are now figuring out life in Korea.
Join us as we share stories and our honest perspective on what it means to be lost and local.
All right, Hannah, this is pretty exciting because we have our second guest for the podcast. Very exciting. And so we will allow you to introduce our guest.
Today's guest is someone I wish I had met in grad school, but somehow never did in a small city like Cambridge. I first got connected with Hope when I was looking to work at a Korean edtech company. But what started as a professional connection quickly turned into, hold up, how do we have so much in common? From growing up as a missionary kid to working in education, we have a lot of overlap. But what sets Hope apart is how boldly she's making change without letting her age be a barrier. She's the assistant director at Wellesley International School in Thailand, where she's rethinking who gets hired, who gets to lead, and how to run a Christian school that's actually inclusive. She's fearless, she's inspiring, and I can't wait to hear more about her journey from college in Korea to supporting TCKs in Thailand. Welcome to the show, Hope.
Wow, that's great. I'm very excited to get to know about Hope. Before we get into specifics about Hope's life, let's kind of just go real lighthearted and talk about our favorite cacao emoji.
Yes.
All right. Well, first of all, thanks for such a generous introduction. Thank you, Hannah. Excited to be here. So my favorite cacao emoji. So have you heard of 옥지 and 빵빵이?
Yeah.
Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
Oh, so you did know about it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Have you heard of it, Adam?
No, but we will throw up the emojis during the actual podcast.
Yeah, that's my favorite. It's they actually have a whole YouTube channel. And it's like a cartoonish thing where it's actually a satirical portrayal of like the Korean dating culture. And like it does it like in the extreme end. Yeah, and like the emojis are not exactly cute, but Hannah was so nice yesterday when I sent her one and was like, oh, here's a sneak peek of my favorite emoji. She was like, so cute. And I was like, no, they're not cute. But yeah, they're
like ugly cute.
Yeah, exactly. They're ugly cute. So that's my favorite. It comes with sounds.
Oh.
Yeah, it comes with sounds.
Well, I don't think I've ever received a cacao emoji with sound.
Okay, I thought so too. But if it's on mute, it won't do the sound.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for the longest time, I also didn't know, and then one day I like unmuted my phone, and then it was like saying all these like cute noises, and I was just like, where is that coming from?
I'll have to check my phone settings on that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. All right, thanks, Hope. How about you, Hannah?
For me, mine's more niche. My friend gifted me the sea lion who's like blue, and he's like really like roly-poly like, and then there's one that says Yahoo, and like whenever I don't know how to respond to someone, I just send Yahoo, and like that's like woohoo, and I'm just like, this is how I'm gonna end the conversation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What about you, Adam?
Okay. Well, I'll throw up the emoji on the video, but it's one of the standard ones. I've never downloaded any additional emoji packs.
Oh, I should gift you something.
But yeah, it's a go-to one, but you'll see it on the video podcast. But yeah, it's just a standard one. But I do emojis on Google Messages on my Android phone. But when I'm in Kakao, I can't use those emojis, so I'll just go to the standard one.
Wait, can you describe the one that you use?
It's like a yellow person with like ears.
Oh,
that goes straight up.
It's just like the OG, right?
Yeah, it's like an OG emoji person.
Oh, okay.
That explains it because I'm OG. I'm old. And
No, you're not.
unoriginal, but. Anyways, but yeah, that's our caca emojis. If you all have any emojis and you wanted to throw them up down in the comments on our YouTube video, that'd be awesome.
I know. I'm curious. where did you grow up? Because that may not be a simple question.
So I was born in Korea, raised in Korea. And then I was raised here until I was around 5 or 6. And then our entire family moved to Thailand. That was around 1999. So yeah, so the school that I started in did not have kindergarten grade level. So I was just put into first grade class.
Oh, no.
So yeah, then like I went to the same school from first year of elementary school to senior year of high school.
Oh, 12 years. All 12 years.
All 12 years in the same school. I graduated there. It was an international school in Bangkok, Thailand. And then, yeah, that's how I grew up.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah.
So did you end up just, without even realizing it, you just had to skip a grade? So were you one of the younger people growing up then?
Yes.
grade?
So I think I was too young to like realize, oh, like why am I placed in this grade level? But I knew I was placed in a grade level higher than my age because I was placed in the same grade level as my brother, my older brother.
Oh.
So yeah. But it was a wild experience for both of us because when we moved to Thailand, I didn't even know the alphabet. So, and I mean, it was an international school, right?
Yeah.
So like we use English as the language of instruction. So everything is taught in English. And the teacher, I think this is something that most teachers won't do now. But we had a rule, like English only rule. So anytime we spoke a language that wasn't English, we had to pay a fine.
Whoa. Okay.
But I like she's like one of the best teachers I've had. I think it was just like different time, you know, like different generation. So it was just such a big stress just going to school every day because like you wouldn't know what's going on. And so yeah, something that I would do I think my brother did the same thing. Like, so whenever we wanted to go to the bathroom or go get some water, you would need a hall pass, right? But you don't know how to ask that.
Oh no.
Like you're just stuck there, and but survival, right?
Yeah.
You need to learn things. So I would observe how my classmates ask the teacher. So like I always notice that it starts with may I. It's like, may I go to the bathroom or may I go get some water? But like I couldn't pick up the rest of the question, but just like the may I part. So I would raise my hand and be like, may I? May I? And the teacher would understand. So I would get my hall pass and I'd go to the bathroom even though I didn't want to. And would just sit there for like 15 to 20 minutes in silence because like I just needed a break from everything. It was just so overwhelming. And like at one point, like both my brother and I, like we were so stressed in the classroom that we would start getting stomach aches. Because it's just like, it's just so overwhelming, right? Being in a new country, new culture, new language and everything. Like, and you're just what, 5, 6-ish? And so like both of us would be at the clinic just like laying down.
Oh no.
Yeah, like we were like same symptoms. But yeah, I think like when you're young, you're very flexible with change. I think kids are so much better than adults when it comes to adapting to changes. That I think for that, like that happened for the first couple of months. And at one point, like we kind of started picking up the language and we got used to it. And eventually, like both of us were placed in separate grade levels, like according to our age. And like that change happened gradually and now I'm here. Yeah.
So your brother and yourself, you guys are pretty close in age then?
Yeah, so we are like 1 year apart. Yeah. So
the resilience of kids, you were able to get through that. But did you and your brother, did you find that like as a galvanizing thing that you guys got closer together, or was that more difficult to be in the same grade as your brother?
I think it definitely helped us like form a closer, stronger bond. Like being abroad at such a young age, and it was just like only family that we had. And it's just like the 1 year age gap also really helped. So like my brother and I, like, we are one of those siblings where, like, who would surprise our friends. If we like,
Oh, because you're close.
Yeah, because we're so close. I think it's a thing, especially in Korea, where like if it's like an older brother and a younger sister, you hardly talk to each other.
Yeah.
But like my brother and I, like, we're pretty close. Like, you know, there were times growing up where like, oh, he was in the States for his college and I was in Korea, and like we would still like have regular FaceTime calls.
Wow.
And,
Oh my
like,
gosh, that's so sweet.
I mean, the conversations weren't sweet, but we're like, if you see us talking to each other, like, you know, like, we're not like those sweetest siblings, but like we would still share what's going on. And
Yeah, that's amazing.
yeah, so I know about his friends, he knows about my friends, and like we like to, like, even now, like, he lives in Seoul, but like we would at least have like, you know, meet up like at least once a month. Or like I would just call him when I would get bored. He would call me and like we would talk. And he's married now, so like I'm also pretty close to my sister-in-law.
Oh.
So sometimes like I would call my sister-in-law and she would put me on speakerphone, and the three of us would have a conversation for like just random things like for 30-40 minutes. And
30-40 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
That's
yeah,
great.
just like
Wow.
the most random things. Growing up abroad, and you know, back in the 90s, like it wasn't common. I guess like, I mean, it was common, but it wasn't as common as it is now, where like families would move abroad as like an entire unit. So I think it's just like that just really brought us closer and rely on each other more. So yeah, I would say like our family, like overall, like we share a lot. We like, you know, we love to check on each other and then share like about different things. So yeah, we're very open about those things.
Yeah. Just for context, a lot of Korean families, the dad would stay back in Korea to work, and then the mom and the children would go, and you call those kirogi families. So it's like a type of bird.
Yeah.
And that's how a lot of families are actually. And then when the kids go to college, it becomes a little tense because they haven't lived together for like 20 years.
Yeah.
We're not just talking about the umbrella over missionary kids. We're just talking about
Korea.
Korea in general.
Yeah.
Because when I was a youth pastor working in the States, we would have kids whose fathers would be either working in Korea or one actually was working in Alaska most of the year just to support the family. So yeah, that makes sense. But that's a testament to both of you making the effort to really keep a close relationship. And I often, at least what I think is the onus really falls upon the oldest sibling to set the tone. But I'm sure both of you did it. But yeah.
So I'm curious. So you went to an international school, but you were also... Were you also interacting with locals, or was your main community the people at international school?
So I think that's one of the downsides of growing up in an international school community, because it provides everything. Like you don't get to connect much with the local community as much as you would think. So I mean, like our international school had Thai students as well and Thai teachers. So I think I just pretty much relied on the community that was provided by the school. Same with like the language too. I speak Thai, read and write, but it's not as good as it's supposed to be. Because like this, normally international schools would teach, at least in Thailand, they would only teach the hours required by the Ministry of Education, wouldn't go further. And that's pretty understandable because like there's a whole entire curriculum that they need to teach and follow, right? And like you can only set aside a minimum number of hours for the Thai curriculum. Yeah, so that's pretty much how I grew up. Yeah.
I can relate to that. Mandarin is like my second language. Like people speak Spanish in America. It's like just a class that you take, and there's not that many opportunities to use it realistically. But, so I know how you feel. Yeah.
I think like the only times that you are put in a situation to use it is like when you go to shop or when you go to eat, and like when you try to, you know, get by to different places like taxi or public transportation. That's you would that's when you would use the local language. But other times, like you already have a group of friends who speak English, and so you wouldn't really use the local language.
Yeah.
So wow, Hope, it sounds like you grew up, unlike Hannah. Hannah went to, when you were in high school, you went to Korea, but it sounds like you stayed in Thailand?
Yeah, I did. Up until senior year of high school.
Okay, so that's a good segue into the next thought process. The next question is, when and how were you exposed to the Korean language and culture?
All right, so I've watched your episode.
Oh,
so
thank you.
I didn't go to a Korean language school like you did. But I had regular exposure to the Korean language and culture because my parents actually, one of their ministry was running a dormitory for the school, and most of the students there were from Korea. Like who wanted to come study abroad in Thailand. So they would come without their parents and they would be under my parents' care. And all of them were, of course, like teenagers older than I was. So like it was just like that consistent exposure to the language and culture. That plus talking about my brother again, but like he was one of those types where like he just did not want to speak English at home. Like he would give me a look, or like he would scold me if I used English at home.
Wow.
So yeah, like we would just mainly use English at home because, like, you know, Hannah, you've probably seen lots of families like who live abroad, Korean families, and like at home because like the kids would get used to English. Would be more comfortable with English, so they would end up using English at home as well. We were not that case.
Your brother was very forward thinking.
Yeah.
That expression.
But I would have thought that it was would be your parents who would make more of that emphasis. But
no, it was my brother. He was just like a control freak. But yeah, so he was always reminding me to use Korean at home, speak Korean. So I think that really helped me like not forget the language.
Yeah.
So yeah. And
what about like learning how to read and write?
I think I was kind of old enough when I moved to Thailand that I like had the basics of the Korean alphabet of Hangul that I didn't have to like learn it. Yeah. Plus, actually, I think the school had like after school class once in a while. It wasn't consistent. Another thing that my parents said was like, they really, I mean, I guess there was my parents' influence, so they also really wanted me to stay in touch with the Korean roots. So once in a while, like during summer break or the holidays, like they would make me and my brother like read newspaper articles and like make a scrapbook or like do some kind of like analysis of Korean text or something like that. So yeah, I think there was that. But when I entered university in Korea, like I knew that my Korean wasn't good enough. Like it's just that was like one of the things that really scared me returning to Korea for college.
Yeah. Wow.
That's impressive that you went from high school just staying in the school, the English system, and then you went to university
in Korea.
And you didn't even go to English-speaking university. Wow.
So
wait, but can we save this for later?
Yeah,
Your
sure.
College experience, because that's so fascinating.
Yeah.
And we kind of want to stay in your teenage years when you were starting to get a sense of like identity, right? Cultural identity. You're starting to notice not everyone lives like you or operates like your family.
Yes.
Where did you feel kind of like you didn't belong, and where did you feel like you did belong?
Great question. Honestly, I think I was lucky enough to be in a community And growing up under parents who were very open-minded, they still are, that like I didn't feel like I had to make decisions or like that I had to like question myself, oh, where do I belong? Yeah, growing up, at least growing up. But I think I started thinking a lot about it when it was time for me to go to college. Because there were lots of conversations with my parents on like which country would be the best suit for me. I have my own idea on that, and like they had their suggestions, and you know, like trying to enter universities in the States as an international student, like you start to realize I'm not American. You know, like growing up, like you kind of think that you're American. Cause like you
even
speak
you did?
Yeah, definitely. Cause
well, that's fascinating.
Because you're not a local.
Yeah.
And you go to an international school where everyone is.
Yes.
Oh, some of the like teachers are from the States? Is that why?
Yeah.
Predominantly.
Yeah, predominantly. And that's something that's like preferred by parents too.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the teachers to be from certain locations. And also like nowadays the trend is like no textbooks at school, but back in the days, like you always have to have a textbook, right? And all of these textbooks are published from the States. So you grow up learning about like the different states, the 50 states, and like about the American currency for math class.
Like,
and like
Alamo. I learned about the Alamo. It has nothing to do with me, but
yeah. And like
that's so weird.
Yeah, and the US government system and like
checks and balances.
Yeah, exactly. And the Supreme Court. And,
goodness. I would not have thought that was being taught in the school systems that are
because international is like code word for American.
Yeah, or British.
Oh yeah, or British.
Or British.
So for me, the only time I learned about Korea was the Korean War. And that was like maybe one page. And then it goes up to the Vietnam War. And you're like, oops. Is that it for Korea?
Yeah. Like there's like one page about East Asia, and then Japan and Korea would share that page.
Oh wow!
And this is like considered world history.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
You realize that you're categorized under something else.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's like when I started questioning where I belong and where I need to be, and like thinking about the future. So like I could not imagine myself going back to Korea for my adulthood, at least when I was in high school, because my Korean was terrible. And it's just like I felt like the culture was something that I'm not really I don't feel like competent in. My dad was like like I really want you to try applying to universities in Korea, and like his logic was like, your nationality is definitely not American. Like if you look at your passport, this is Korean. And so like, a Korean who only speaks fluent English and doesn't know their roots, like, honestly, like won't be able to contribute much to the society. So he was like, why don't you just give it a try? See if you get accepted. If you do, just like you could try just like a semester. If you hate it, you can just quit and then have a gap year and then apply to universities in the States again. I was somehow convinced. So I actually ended up applying to both universities in the States and in Korea, but it also came down to the tuition fees as well. It was just like tuition fees in the States, crazy, right? So I decided to return to Korea for university. And like so like that entire experience of like applying to universities and then realizing that in the adult world I'm not categorized as something that I thought I was. So like I think that's like one of the biggest hardships I had in life. Like in hindsight, it's just like a phase, but like in that moment it was just so confusing. And I was like, I had so many questions on, okay, like why would my paths be limited based on these things, and like how do I like return to Korea and fit myself into the culture and like get along with people. So I think that was like an entire journey of its own.
I see. Yeah. Wait, question. Mm-hmm. What did your brother choose? Because he's a year...
Yeah,
he's a year older than you, right?
That myself.
Like, did your dad say the same thing for him?
Did he go to the States?
Or was he shipped off to the army? Like, what happened?
So, ironically, he ended up going to the States for college. Okay. And, like, we always, like, joke about it, saying, like, oh, that was, like, part of God's plan. Because, like, my brother was the type, like, growing up in an international school, like, I always hung out with, like, the international friends. My brother hung out with the Koreans. So, like how my parents explained it was like he needed that. He needed to be put in a place where like he would be exposed to like different types of people and different types of friends that he didn't get to experience in like middle school or high school. So he ended up going to the States for college, and I ended up going to Korea.
Wow.
But like I actually agree with like how it ended up. Like I think it was just like the best for the two of us. I think we just needed to experience something that would beyond our comfort zones. So yeah. Ironic, right?
In the moment, were you like mad?
Yes.
Like, how come he gets to do it?
I was. And I like I was always the better student growing up. Like I was like, and I loved school. I loved studying, and like I felt like that meant that I like get to have more options. And it's like, I feel so bad for my brother now because I feel like I'm putting him down, but like he was a more social type. Yeah, he's like a people's person, whereas like for me growing up, I just focused more on my academics. So like I think that kind of like I had a misunderstanding of like, oh, because I was a smarter one growing up, I should get to have more options when it comes to choosing college or university. So yes, I was mad. And like I told my parents, like, I am going to go to grad school. Like even before entering college, I would tell them, I'm going to go to grad school and like, you would have to support me.
Nice, a bargain.
Yeah, like you would have to support me. And and like it actually, and like they said, okay, like, they were trying to calm me down. Okay, like we'll support you, but it actually ended up becoming a true story. So
cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I do have a question before we go on to that future, but growing up, did you ever lament, why are we in Thailand? Like, why can't I go back to Korea? Was there any like identifying like a situation where you just really identified yourself as Korean, but now you're in Thailand and you're getting, was there ever that moment?
No, not about being in Thailand, because I think my parents like were such great examples. Like they're the most positive people. Like when life gives you hardship, like they're the type of people like who would always try to see the positive side and be very grateful about like whatever situation we're in. So I think that had a huge impact on like how I looked at my own life. And like I would always try to think about the positive sides of like getting to grow up abroad and like having this diverse experience that like other people wouldn't get to have. So like that's I don't think I ever thought like, oh, why am I in Thailand? Like I wish I wish I could go back to Korea. Like, I don't think
wish
I
you
ever
were normal. That was my dream.
So yeah, no, but like I did have a hard time understanding why my parents had to be responsible for so many teenagers when I also needed that attention from them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because like during their busiest years, like they had like 30 teenagers under their care. And like, like being a dorm parent means like you're working sort of like 24/7.
Yeah.
And like there were some troublemakers within that group. So like I think I did not have that rebellious face growing up as a teenager, because like I knew like how upsetting that will be for my parents, because I've seen like other teenagers within like the dorm like make those, like
and how it like grieved your parents.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think I always felt like, I cannot be like that. I have to be a good girl. And so like I never had a night where like my parents had to remind me I had to do my homework.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
yeah, like they had to remind me to go to bed.
Like when you worked so hard.
Yeah. But like I never had a night where like they had to ask me like, did you study for your test tomorrow? Or like, do you have any homework today? So yeah, but like there were like, like as a child, like there are nights where you want to just have, like family time and just be with your parents and just maybe just like spontaneously go out for dinner and, as a family, but it wasn't possible because my mom had to cook for like 30 plus kids.
Yeah.
And like it's just like she had a very strict routine that she had to follow as a dorm parent. So like I had to share my parents with 30 plus other teenagers. So like when like those are the times when I was like, oh, I wish I could have my parents to myself,
That's the reality of being a missionary kid, right?
Yeah, like you gotta but when you lose something, you gain something.
What a connection!
Right? So I think again, like I think that's how I was like sort of like consistently exposed to the Korean culture, and that kind of transition was easier for me. And I think I picked up some social skills growing up, like having to live with like a bigger family, a bigger community, where just like I wouldn't have learned had I just grown up normal.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like thinking about it then, like in the situation, of course it was hard and like I had so many questions, but now I think it shaped me for who I am now, and it just made me a better person at the end of the day. So I'm very grateful about it.
Wow, you're so like you had to grow up, you had to mature so quickly, right? Like because of the situation you lived in, because you wanted to honor your parents, and that resonates a lot. Like there were things I would have to give up because I knew the price my parents were paying to be in missions, and so that hits me.
I can't relate to the way you were raised, but being a youth pastor for many years, I envision your parents like being 24/7 youth pastors almost.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
It's like you live with your youth group.
And you cook for them, and then you go for their PTC meetings, and whenever like they do something bad at school, you have to be there.
So I feel like I can't speak for my little brother-in-law. He was in my youth group. I was his youth pastor.
Okay.
So I can't speak for him, but I can imagine there was a certain amount of pressure for him to be, you're Adam's little brother-in-law. You're the youth pastor's brother-in-law. You're expected to be godly. You're expected to follow the rules. You're expected to do all these things.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was probably a pressure that I wasn't even aware of as a youth pastor over him. But it seems like you navigated those waters really well.
I know, so mature.
I think like again, like it was my parents who like really helped me have a more positive perspective on those things, because like of course there were moments like that because my dad worked at the school that I went to.
Oof.
So it was
they're everywhere.
It's 24/7.
So like just to give you one story, in high school, like even though my brother and I were in different grade levels, we took the same Thai class because like we were taking a class for like Thai for foreigners. And so like, we didn't do anything too crazy. We just like we were just you know, we just made fun of each other and like that kind
banter.
of it's like that kind of interrupted the class, but it wasn't like we were rebelling against the teacher or anything like that. And I think the teacher was having a bad day. So she got really mad at us, and she made a comment saying something like, "Oh, your father is a pastor / missionary, so like, you know, you're not supposed to act this way." But like it was just like, it wasn't fair for her to make that comment. And like it kind of stuck with me, and I shared it with my mom saying, "Mom, you know what happened at school today?" And she made this comment, and my mom was like, that has nothing to do with like how you're supposed to behave as a teenager or how you're supposed to act as a student. And so I think like that kind of gave me like the confidence to be like, okay, like, yeah, like my parents might have this job, but like I shouldn't put myself under that pressure. And again, like, yeah, so like they were really good at making sure we had like a positive perspective on things, and making sure like, you know, we weren't taking every comment too seriously and like the expectations that people had for us. But I can definitely relate to like PKs and MKs like who grew up in churches or who grew up like with so many people who hold those expectations. But I think if the parents are able to have those conversations with their kids, or like are able to provide an environment where like they can be independent from those expectations, I think they can have a much like better, healthier memories and experience.
Expectations. Wow. Shout out to your parents. That's incredibly rare. And like, I'm gonna throw shade at my parents. They were like, yeah, you should have stayed quiet instead of chatting during class. But wow. Okay, that's so amazing.
Wow. They are very forward thinking.
Okay. Wow. You want to ask about college?
So yeah, I'm really interested when you made the transition into university in Korea. Obviously, it wasn't your first choice, it seems like. So when you were living those 4 years in Korean university, what were some of the struggles, and how did you start identifying more, embracing your Korean culture, or was there like a rebellious stage, or what were some things that you experienced during that time?
So even before starting school in Korea, like so many people were telling me stories about how I would never be able to make friends.
Were they Korean?
Yeah, like Koreans here or like Koreans in Thailand, because I think that trend of international like TCKs coming back for college was not as popular back when I returned to Korea for college. Now it's like a thing. There were so many like Koreans who lived abroad for a long time coming back to Korea for undergrad. Now it's like a whole thing.
But didn't they get rid of a lot of 특례s?
No, they actually like they made it stricter for 재외국민 category, which is like students who grew up abroad with their families, but they added more categories for students like who studied abroad or who graduated from international school. So like I think they're trying to encourage it a little bit more. But back then it was not as common. And you know how hard it is for students here who grew up in Korea, went to like Korean schools to get accepted to like the top universities here. Like it's crazy. Like the Korean college entrance exam and all that, they only get a shot like once a year. So like people around me were saying, oh, like they're gonna hate you because you got accepted like taking the easier path, the easier track, which is like growing, like because you were categorized as something else. Like
even though you're a Korean citizen, you're still categorized in terms of admissions as something else.
Because like we just went through a different schooling system.
That's
so
true.
like the universities don't expect us to take the Korean college entrance exam. Like we submit SAT scores.
Not 검정고시.
No. Like I submit a SAT score. So it's like basically most of it is similar to what you would go through for the admissions process for universities in the States.
Oh, okay.
But some of it is just done in Korean. So, like, I think it's debatable on whether it's actually easier or harder, because like they're just so different.
Sure.
But I get what they mean. It's just like we don't get to take we get to take SATs multiple times.
Yeah.
Right, throughout our high school years. Like, it's not like once in a lifetime thing. So I understand the pressure and stress that the students who grew up here need to go through to get accepted to the top universities. So like, so many people told me, oh, you're gonna be hated, like, for like, for having that easier experience. And your Korean's so bad, so like I'm like, like, people were like saying like you're not gonna have an easy experience overall. So that kind of scared me, but like at the same time it was like my dad was telling me like, if you hate it you can just like leave, right? So I don't.
Did you watch Poksak?
Oh, I did.
Baku?
Yeah.
So like the drama, the tangerine drama, there's a beautiful scene where the dad's like, if it's too hard, you can always come back. Yeah, so that it was like, Hope, you had a conscious
Your
dad.
parents were like the the picture perfect Christian,
very supportive, emotionally
progressive
like,
for being Korean. Wow.
Wow.
I should make my parents watch this.
Yes.
I want to meet your parents.
So I started college, but I think I was very lucky enough. So I chose a major. It's called Political Science International Relations, PSIR, or like I think they call it PSIS, International Studies. I can't remember the exact English name, but it's called 정치외교학과 in Korea. And I select that major like wanting to have a more international experience and like looking back at like, okay, what kind of strengths do I have? But I realized that there were so many peers with similar experiences who grew up abroad and came back to Korea for college, because I think the major itself, like, it has to do with like diplomacy and like like maybe possibly like becoming diplomats or like working in international organizations. So I think it attracted students with
similar backgrounds.
Similar backgrounds. So like I wasn't the only person like who got in through that track.
Oh, okay.
So that really helped when I first started college. And I think I forced myself to have different groups of friends.
Oh.
So like I think I kind of like considered it as like coming back to Korea for college as like studying abroad.
In a sense, it is.
So I was like, oh, like I'm here, so I'm not sure if I'm gonna totally enjoy it, but like I want to make the most out of this experience. So I kind of pushed myself to make like have to be with a group of friends who were like Koreans.
Born and raised.
Yeah, born and raised here. And also like I have my group of friends like who had shared experiences. And I'm really glad that I did that, because I think I was able to understand myself better, having those different groups of friends. So yes, like it was hard, studying in Korean. It was my first time like using the Korean language to study since kindergarten, before I moved to Thailand. But I think it made me a stronger person and like explore more. Yeah.
Wow. Wait, so how did you... I don't even know if I could write an essay in Korean. Like, did you have a writing center? Did you like get a tutor? Did you always go to office hours? Like, how did you navigate that?
I'm so embarrassed. Like, it was just so bad.
Oh.
It was just so bad. Yeah, like, like when like you're so embarrassed about certain things, like you force your brain to erase
Oh.
those from your memories.
I see.
So I know, like, I really struggled. Like, I cried a lot. I think one of the things that was so hard for me, it wasn't just the language aspect. It was just like, growing up, I was always one of like the highest performing students. And as a higher performing student, like, what makes studying so enjoyable is that you know that if you put certain amount of input, you get a certain output.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's like you know what to expect. But like, it wasn't only the language, it was also the content, and it was just like the way everything was taught was just so different from the education environment that I grew up in. Like, everything needed to be memorized.
Yeah.
It was just like, I knew that even though I would like I read this textbook for like 3-4 times, I would never be able to memorize it.
In that given amount of time.
Yeah. Like I would never be able to have that output that I wanted. And that was just like so hard for me. Because like, I was always the planner growing up as a teenager, like, you know, like creating study plans and knowing that like this would lead to that, and but that was so hard in the moment. But at the same time, I think it was so humbling. I think like that was one of the first moments where I really learned that like not everything go as you planned.
Okay.
And like, you gotta just deal with it.
Yeah.
You gotta find a way to deal with it and cope with it.
Survival.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think those like were one of my biggest wake up moments. Like, my transition from like young adulthood to adulthood.
That's very impressive. You went through like a crucible of all kinds of stuff, but it made you stronger. And I think your parents probably had the foresight to know that if any one of their 2 children could go through a Korean system, the conscientious daughter who really performs well, I think they put their bet on the fact that you would survive.
Yeah.
I hope that was what they were thinking.
But it made you a stronger person.
It did.
So it's impressive.
It did.
How was navigating the social scene? Like, you did mention you found ways to integrate into the born and raised Koreans.
Yeah.
Like, what was your entry point? How did you overcome the fact that they already have a certain view of you, right? Because even before you tell your story, like, if you're like, I'm not from here, my parents live somewhere else, they kind of view you a certain way. Like, how did you overcome that? Or could you even overcome that?
I think, like, you know, like, they might have those stereotypes about me, but like, if they're good people, like, I know that they will see me as who I am. So I think, like, regardless of the differences in backgrounds, like, the most important thing is to reach out to good people, just good human beings, right? And in hindsight, I think I kind of saw those differences as like something similar to having different personalities.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's like, I might have this background, but like, it's like having a different personality. And as long as I'm open-minded enough, and as long as my friends are open-minded enough, like, I knew that we would be able to overcome those differences. I think that was my approach to it. I mean, because like, you know, you've all traveled, right? And like, you probably have friends from different countries and different backgrounds and different cultures, but like friendships mean that you overcome those differences. But like, if we focus too much on like the differences, like, we will always other each other. And I think I knew that I had something to offer in that friendship, even though I grew up in like a different environment and culture and background, and I knew like I had a lot to learn from them too.
Oh, I love that. That you understood that there was something that you could glean from them. Okay.
But like, you know, of course, like, I also returning to Korea, I also have my stereotypes about the Korean culture, you know, the way it's like portrayed on like K-dramas or like social media or whatsoever. But I think one of the best things about my experience having that college experience here was like I think I was able to understand better why like Koreans do things in a certain way. I think I was able to understand the context better.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you understand the context, you can have a more neutral view of certain things. I think it's like when you don't understand the context, like you would go like, oh, like, ew, you know, you would have that negative view on people or culture. But like when you understand, oh, this is why they do this way. And I think that was like what my 4 years of university in Korea was like. Understanding the context, like rather than being like, oh, like I hated that like Koreans do things this way or do things that way, but I think it was just like, oh, okay, like this is why they do things this way, like because that's the same when we go to other countries to travel, right? It's like that's one of the best things about traveling, like it humbles you because you realize that okay, like my way is not the default. Like people live in so many different ways. It doesn't mean that it's wrong. It just means like we're different. Like we do things, see things differently, but it doesn't mean that one is more superior than the other. So I think that was like that's how I would kind of sum up my experience and how like I think like having that mindset. Of course, like I wasn't able to like have that mindset like overnight, but just like accumulation of getting to meet different groups of people and different individuals like helped me have that perspective.
Okay. Wow.
So wise, Hope. Wow.
We're both humbled here. Like, okay.
Yeah.
So maybe Hannah already knows, but did you go off to grad school in the States then?
I did. Do you know that poem? So you taught English.
Yeah.
So it's one of the most typical English poems. The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. So it's all about how like the person in the poem like takes a less traveled road. Yeah. And then looking back, how much of an impact it made on that person. So that's something I learned in high school, that poem, and like it kind of stuck with me. And that was something that I wanted to achieve in my life. Like I wanted to live a life where like I would choose things because it's meaningful, not because it's expected or because it's something that seems easier. And I think like my college experience was sort of reflective of that mindset and also like what I did after university. So like earlier I told you that I knew that I wanted to go to grad school, like even before I entered college. And so I actually started studying for the GRE in my junior year of college.
Wow.
And like yeah, exactly. But then I wasn't sure what I wanted to study for my master's. So I decided to work for a bit. It's like, okay, I'm not sure what I want to pursue, and like it's gonna be a huge investment, and like it's gonna take my time. So I want to like explore a little bit more. And my thought was, okay, like if I'm gonna have more experience, I want it to be an experience that I've never had. And like there were some job openings through like the school's career page, and I found this company that no one has heard about.
Really not traveled road.
Yeah, like yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they were doing consulting work for government entities. And oil companies in the Middle East, GCC. So basically, like they're the oil-rich. They're the country with oil money, like Kuwait, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Qatar, and so on and so on. And it sounded so interesting, like because I grew up in a Christian family and a Christian school, so I like don't really understand like the Islam religion. Like I've never really interacted with Muslims. That it's just like it just sounded so interesting to me. I thought like, oh, this is really gonna like broaden my, view of the world. So I applied and I got the job.
Wow. Wow.
And
So cool.
I worked there for about 1.5 years, or like almost 2 years. And I got to travel a lot. Like I had like a lot of business trips. And I enjoyed it so much.
Wow.
Cause like I realized that I like had so many stereotypes about Muslims. And it was just eye-opening for me. And like I was very lucky enough to work for that company at a timing where I was given the opportunity to work very closely with the CEO. So I would travel with her very often, and I would get to meet like the C-level people of like these biggest government entities and oil companies in the Middle East. So like, like what kind of company would give like a fresh undergraduate
That's true.
that kind of experience, right?
C-level. Wow.
So like you would learn the etiquettes and like the manners of like how to talk to certain people, and like in the most expensive like venues, and like so it was a crazy experience. So I think I was one of the first among my friends to go on like international business trips.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And like accumulating that experience and also my years in university, I think I had a strong realization about how lucky I am to have had the education opportunity that I did growing up, and wanted to study deeper at like a policy level. Because like the work that I did at the first company that I worked for, they provided HR consulting. So they provided these professional development workshops and opportunities for the client companies. And like one of the things that stuck with me was like I don't really remember schools doing this. Like I don't really remember my school like educating teachers to become better educators. And like I'm very lucky to have had that opportunity growing up in an international school. But like, what if schools are more passionate? What if schools would invest more in these PD opportunities? Like, that would not only change the teachers' lives, but also like the students' lives. So that was kind of like my take when it came to SOP, the statement of purpose, and like what I wanted to do after grad school and through grad school. So yeah, that's how I ended up going to grad school in the States.
And this time your parents weren't like, it has to be Korea. They were like,
no,
you can choose anywhere in the
yeah,
world.
Yeah, of course not. I mean, like, they, like, they really couldn't say no. Because, like, given the prestige and the name value of the university, like, they, like, it was just like, they did not expect me to.
Wow.
I also didn't expect myself to, get accepted.
Wait, same.
Yeah.
I just put it in just for like why not?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was definitely not my target university. It was just like,
same.
I already have these documents and like all of this prepared. So like, why not just apply here too, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, they couldn't say no. They had to say yes.
Yeah.
So did they help support you?
Oh, of course they did.
Aww.
Of course they did.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so you went to grad school with the education emphasis, and that's a really interesting that you gave up that amazing position going overseas and doing all that, because you probably could have stayed there, but you chose to go back to grad school like you originally intended.
Yeah, because it was a great opportunity for me, but I don't think when I started there, I knew that this wouldn't be something that I would be doing forever. I knew that like this would be a stepping stone for me, but not something that I would do for like long term.
Mm-hmm.
Like again, like I wanted a job opportunity so that I have a clear vision of what I want to do in grad school and in the longer term.
Mm-hmm.
So I like it wasn't a difficult decision for me at all.
Oh.
You stuck to your vision.
Yeah.
So that's
Wow.
impressive.
Kind of, yeah.
After grad school, and grad school, I'm kind of skipping over because it was just a year, and you're kind of in and out.
Yeah.
They're not really expecting you to stay long term. They're kind of wanting to prepare you to become a leader and then plant you wherever you can like be influential. So after grad school, what happened?
So, well, first of all, when like I tell people I did my master's in education, and if they know what my parents do and like the job that I have now, like they like instantly think, oh, so you did your master's in education because you wanted to work with your parents like at the school, right? And it's like, no, like that's not what I initially planned. I never thought of working with my parents when I chose to be in an education master's program. But like my parents basically founded the school that I currently work in as missionaries, and they founded an international school as not so fluent English speakers in a foreign country. So like it kind of can give you an idea of how tough that entire journey would have been for them. And like I like would always hear these stories about the things that my parents would have to go through and deal with, and my like towards the end of my last semester at the master's program, I think I had a calling. Like I felt like I had a calling to go work with my parents.
Wow.
And because like after graduating from such a prestigious university, I think those like first years after graduating, like you kind of consider it to be your prime.
Yeah.
And I thought like, why not? I thought like it would be more meaningful to use these prime years serving rather than doing something that I personally want to pursue. And that's what I did. I mean, but I think there were like different layers of thought, like on a faith level, like that was what was going through my head. Like thinking about my parents, like me as a daughter, like I really wanted to do something for my parents and help them. Because they're amazing parents, and like they also supported me throughout my grad school program. And like because most international students who go study in the States, they want to remain in the States and earn the dollars, right?
Yeah.
And also it's just like there are so many career opportunities in the US.
Sure.
But like I've heard of so many stories about how stressful it is when it comes to like the H-1B visa and everything.
Yeah.
And like
Hannah.
I was that student.
And I think it's so courageous to go through that process, like not looking down at that option at all, but it's just like I like as a big planner, I did not like I wasn't confident that I would be able to handle that stress.
The unknown.
Yeah. Like, and it's like to me it just doesn't sound fair because like it doesn't have anything to do with your work performance, right? It's just like it feels very random.
Yeah.
And
It's a lottery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It basically is, and it's like nothing's guaranteed. So I just felt like I wasn't capable of going through that. So like I decided to return to Thailand to work with my parents. And I think I was able to make that decision because I was so naive. Because I didn't know what was coming. And
can I just pause this?
Yeah.
There's a Korean saying that it's like not knowing is medicine.
Yeah.
모르는 게 약이다. So it's like I can resonate. It's like you can go on this path because you don't know what it entails and how hard it's gonna be.
Okay.
Yeah. So like, and I think it was just like the environment that I was in grad school. Everyone's talking about making a change and doing something for the better.
Change the world.
Yeah, exactly. That's like the slogan, right?
Of our school.
So I think I was very naive, and I came back to Thailand, and I'm not an educator by profession. Like now I have years of experience working in a school, but like back then, like I never taught in a traditional like K to 12 school, and like I never had that administrator experience. But I just knew that my parents needed someone who could wear multiple hats for a very good price.
Wow.
And so I felt like I could do something, be there and like and do something for them and for the school. And another thing that like there was also this conversation that I had with like one of my professors, and initially I actually wanted to pursue PhD. And she was telling me that if you want to pursue a PhD in education, like she told me, I highly recommend you to work at a K to 12 school. Yeah. And work in the field. And like it just made more sense to me to return to Thailand to do that, because like that's a space that I grew up in, and the space that I understand like as a student. So like it just felt like it was the right decision at the time. And like I wanted to, if I'm going to work at a school anyways, then like I might as well be some kind of help to my parents. So I returned to Thailand. And it wasn't easy at all. It was totally the opposite of what I imagined it to be. There is a saying that your Ivy League degree, the value of your Ivy League degree becomes higher the farther you are from the East Coast.
So like, true. It's saturated.
Yeah. It's because like there are so many Ivy League graduates in the States, like especially in the East Coast, right? That like there's a saying that it gets like the value becomes higher the farther you're away.
Okay.
But little did I know that when you are too far from it, no one values
it. That doesn't mean anything.
It's just like a piece of paper. It's just like what's that school? Like never heard of it, it becomes a thing like that where like it's just like, and like after graduating from an Ivy League school, like there's a sense of like, oh, like I achieved this. But it's just I was put in a situation where it's just like it didn't matter at all. And I'm actually very grateful looking back that I had that experience, because had I not, I think I might have ended up being someone very like snobbish. So that was like basically my experience working at my parents' school in a nutshell for the first few years. And what I like, even though I did not have any knowledge about like school education, K to 12 school education or whatsoever as an educator, what I knew for sure was that like having strong foundations would make the school sustainable. Like whether it's the administrative work or like the curriculum or whatsoever. So I started doing that at the school, like, and tried to do like I did some research on like what kind of organizations and accreditations would help us get there. And that's how I came across organizations like one of them is called WASC, Western Association of Schools and Colleges. So they basically accredit schools, evaluate and accredit schools if they meet to certain standards. And then like I set that goal, like I was just like, it's crazy talking about it now because like that was me in my mid-20s and trying to lead an entire school, an entire team to go through that process. Like I don't think I really fully understood how that would affect others. And I think I was just so passionate about it that I assumed that others would be on board and would understand the value of it. but that's not how it works, right? Not everyone's on the same page when it comes to changes. So yeah, there were so many unexpected responses. And if you are somewhat familiar about the international school community, it's predominantly white, led by white leaders. That it's just like very odd for a young woman of color like to kind of come into the space and say we're going to be making these changes. So you know, and I understand how difficult it would have been for my team back then to like really process it, because like I'm not just a young woman of color, right? I'm the owner's daughter, like the founder's daughter. So you know, of course, like I think that's how I would have responded too. Like I think I would have been also very doubtful about what this process would mean and everything. So long story short, there was a lot of hardship. Plus there was COVID. And then during COVID, it was like one of the most difficult times for private schools. Because like the parents were in panic and like
sending the kids back home and
because basically like for private schools especially, parents are paying the schools to take care of their children while they're at work. But their kids are no longer at school. And like the schools can't be like, okay, it's COVID remote study, so we're not accepting tuition fees anymore. Like it doesn't work that way, right? And the government, like I think around the world, actually the ministries of education around the world also didn't know what to do with the situation. And like no one was fully prepared. And so it was an extremely stressful time. I initially promised my parents like 1 or 2 years working with them. But then like with COVID and everything, I ended up staying for 3 years. The first time I worked with them. And yeah, that was just like, it was a lot. And we were able to make some substantial changes at the cost of my like mental health and like
burnout.
So burnout. And so I needed to put a pause to that chapter.
Wow. And where did that pause lead you?
So like one of the things that really frustrated me making those changes, again, I was like very young, very naive. So like I like would always tell my parents, like I really want to work in an environment where it's more fast paced. It's more fast paced and everyone will be on board and like basically like people who I can like connect with, right? Because like being a leader at any organization is a very lonely thing, because like everyone expects you to understand them, but no one would make the same effort to understand you.
Oh, I see. Like no empathy towards
right. Because like they just like expect that from the leaders. I think in most organizations,
like that you're strong. That you're like I see.
So, and like my parents knew what I went through those 3 years, so they were again very supportive, and they were like we love this school, but we don't love this school as much as we love you. So
that's so beautiful. It's like healing my inner child.
So
I want to go work for your parents.
So they were like, you do whatever you need to do to like heal and to have this time for yourself. And the city that our school is located in, it's actually like 3-4 hours away from Bangkok. So it's right now it's gradually changing,
developing.
But and the population's becoming much younger. But like back then, it was just like there was just nothing that I could do. It was just like school, home, like, and so they understood that like me being in my late 20s, I needed more. Like I needed
socialize.
I needed to like socialize with people. So they understood that very well. So I left the school and I got a job at an edtech company in Korea, and that was and then like for me that was like taking a break.
It's like just crazy because they work you so hard.
Yeah, like the Korean company per se. Like, I mean, everyone thinks if you work for a Korean company, you're not taking a break. You're working like crazy.
But it's so funny because like that was the response of my colleagues too.
Yeah.
Like when they were asking me about my story and like how I ended up there, and I was just like, oh, like I wanted to take a break. And they were like, this is you taking a break?
It's all relative.
Yeah, exactly, right? Because like not being in the position of leadership, not having to like, you know, that burden, not having that burden was just like taking a break for me.
Sure.
And just like, you know, having that luxury of like after my working hours, I get to like switch off and just focus on me.
Sure.
But like doing my schoolwork, it's not like that. Like I'm 24/7 thinking about okay, what's our next move?
You're living, breathing, everything. School. Yeah.
So and I think during that, like there was so much guilt too, actually, leaving the school, leaving my parents there. And so like but like for that time, I just really wanted to focus on myself.
Makes sense.
And kind of recover. So I like disconnected myself from that school as much as possible during that time. And I literally just focused on me. And during that time, I started attending a church, and like I was able to do a lot of self-reflection and also like, you know, reflecting on myself also in terms of faith. And I think I came to a realization that those 3 years were so stressful and so tough for me. Not only because like what I went through were tough, but because of how I viewed myself. I think I came to a realization that it was so hard for me because I believe that I deserve better. I think like that's the conclusion that I came to. Like, I think I saw myself as someone who deserved more.
Like more as in like status, money, like what are
like
everything?
Everything. But like, even though I didn't go there as a missionary, it is a mission field. And I knew going in that like I would have to make a lot of sacrifices. But I think I was too cocky. I think like I was just like, oh, I bring in this experience, I bring in this like grad school degree and whatsoever, like, you know, that like I think I place myself at that level that when things happen, just like it was so hard for me to process. Like it was just like a cycle of why me? Why is this happening to me? Like, why do I have to go through this stuff? Right? And then like when I had that realization, I think I like started asking myself like, is like, what do I do? What do I want to do with my life? Like, you know, is this me just seeking for comfort and my job and whatever I do, like, is this like the best that I can do with my life? And then like I actually left the school telling my parents I'm never ever gonna come back. Like I told them like there's no way I'm gonna return to this school. But during that year and a half, like I realized that okay, like this is like this school is something that I want to work on like as a lifetime project.
Wow.
So I quit my job in Korea, and then I returned to the school full time.
And how long were you at that company?
Year and a half. So I think I started like having those questions and like those realizations after a year of working at that company. And I think like another thing that I realized was like, so that edtech company was like it had a very strong team, like when you looked at the individuals. So like it was very like surprising that in the sense that like it had like all the components that I was looking for when I was having such a hard time in Thailand, just like complaining to my parents like, oh, the next like organization I work with, I hope like it's this and that, like it
On
had
paper.
all this and that on paper. But everyone's like super intelligent, they're very good at what they do, but like when I was actually there, it didn't feel as fast paced. I think like not because like not saying anything bad about the company, but it's just like I think I started redefining what it means to be fast paced. And like one of the best things of like working at a school is like you get to see the change that you are working towards every single day. Through the students, through the parents, through the teachers. It might not show in numbers right away, but like you are witnessing, you're living and breathing in that change.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I think like it was like a huge epiphany for me.
Yeah.
And that's how I decided to return.
Yeah. Wow. And I do think companies don't hold that same mission-mindedness.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that's another thing.
Like uniting under some sort of goal doesn't go that far compared to education.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think I was able to make that decision to return to the school because, well, after I left, like the school went through lots of downs.
When you left.
Yeah, after I left. Cause like, you know, it has nothing to do with my capacity. It's just like when there's just that one person who's trying to like push the entire organization and that person leaves, even after like the leadership hats have been handed to multiple people. I think it's just like, it's like organizations would go through that instability. But so it was like a really tough time for my parents, actually, that period. Like they, at one point, they were even thinking about closing the school. It was that tough for them.
Wow.
Because like they knew their limits, not speaking the language and just like so many things. Like when you like, it's just like running a school is just like I would not ever recommend anyone to start a school. That's how tough it is.
Yeah.
But like even during those times, my parents would never hint or you ask me like whether I would consider returning. They never put that pressure on me. And so like that gave me plenty of time and space to think on my own. Yeah. And at one point, this is a bit random, but like, do you know about the movie called Coda?
Yeah.
Have you watched it?
I watched it, but I don't remember much about it. But they're deaf, right?
Right. The entire family is deaf.
The children of deaf parents, right? Is a coda.
So like I think the main character is the only one who's not deaf.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think the entire family is.
But I think the term coda refers to children whose parents are deaf. So they're coda.
Okay.
Or something. Let's fact check that. But anyway, yes.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
And my mom watched that movie and she was like, she told me like, I cried so hard watching that movie because you have been basically the main character of that movie for me and your dad. Like you have been like even though like some people might say it was short, some people might say it was long, but no matter how long or short that period was, like you were always the ears and the mouth of me and your father working at this school. And she was just like saying like, I can't thank you enough. Like, and like that was like during one of the toughest times that my parents had to go through, like since they founded the school. And again, like they really tried hard to make sure I didn't have that sense of guilt leaving the school behind. And again, like that really helped me process things like better in a more mature way, I think. So yeah, and like I made the call and was like, I'm gonna quit my job in Korea and I'm gonna return. finish the things that I started and wanted this school to achieve. So I returned. This year's 2025. I returned in 2023 fall, and since then, I've been working with the school full time.
Wow.
Oh. Yeah. But you're here in Korea right now, though.
Right.
So do you spend some time in Korea and then some time in Thailand?
Yeah. So last year I was spending most of my time in Thailand because our school was going through accreditation, like the final stages of accreditation from two really big organizations, IB and WASC.
Oh,
so we had visits, and then like there was a lot to prepare for it.
Yeah.
So I was spending my time a lot in Thailand last year. Like this is like a little bit of a personal story, but I have someone significant. Like I have a partner, boyfriend who we've been dating for more than 2 years now, and we started this relationship not knowing that this would be like me not being here,
like a long distance relationship.
Yeah. Like I try my best to not define it as long distance relationship, but at the same time, like it is. So like, yeah, many things like me wanting to like find a bright balance, like whenever I can, being here as much as possible, and like being there. But also like I think it's not only for my boyfriend but also for myself, because like this time I'm in it for a lifetime at the school, and like I want to make sure it's not like 100-meter sprint, right?
Oh, like sustainable.
Yeah, it's a marathon. Yeah. Exactly. So I think I need to find out my ways on how I can make this possible for me too.
Yeah.
And sometimes it requires me to be here a little bit more. And like, because it was such a crazy year last year, like so many things happening at the same time that it's just like this semester, like I wanted to find the time for myself and like take a breather and like figure out like what I want to do with my life on like the personal side. And yeah, that's why I'm here now in Seoul.
Okay.
It's like a full circle moment, because initially the idea of Korea was like fear striking, right? Anxiety. And you're like, how can I adjust there? But now Korea is now your home base. Like you kind of come back to like refresh, rejuvenate, and then you go back to your work field and that mission and that calling, and it's full circle. That's like so powerful.
Yeah.
And so I assume your boyfriend is Korean?
Yeah.
So you're kind of embracing, even though you were TCK and you lived in Thailand and you spent some time in the States, it feels like Hannah said, you're kind of embracing your identity again. And even though you're going to work in Thailand, it seems like you were born here, you're now marrying someone from here, and it seems like you're pretty comfortable with your identity as a Korean.
So that's a very interesting question. Because like I said yes when you asked me about my boyfriend. He's not like, he's kind of Korean, but he's not really.
Okay.
And that's what makes like our bond stronger.
Okay.
Because we have shared experiences when it comes to living abroad. So he spent a few years of his teenagers in the States. Like I think 1 or 2 years, and he also went to university in the States, and he also worked there for a bit. So like we have these shared experiences that we can relate to. And like I don't think this is me, but I like when I talk to my girlfriends who have these TCK experiences or like international experiences, like these are qualities that really make your relationship stronger, because like you understand what it's like to code switch, for example, like and like what it means to be a Korean and what it means to be like sort of like an international Korean. And like you don't have to explain yourself with the significant other.
Sure.
Because you understand like what the awkward moments are, right? Like, and the jokes, and like you're comfortable around each other, like switching languages and like certain memes, right? And the cultural aspect of it. So I think like I like not only my like, you know, my significant other, but like when it comes to friendships too, that's like where I also experience a lot of comfort being around friends like who understand what it's like to code switch between the Korean culture and maybe like the American culture or like the international culture. So like I think I that's how I define myself. Like I don't think I would say like being in Korea, like being a Korean here is what I what I define as home, or myself is just like, but just having like no like just accepting that I have these layers of identities and being around, always having a group of friends who understand what it means. Like I don't always have to surround myself with those friends because like, you know, we all have different groups of friends, right? But like knowing that there's always that group of friends or those individuals that you can share with or connect with when it comes to those like cultural nuances or experiences, I think is what makes me feel so comfortable. And I have that social circle here in Korea.
Oh, that's great.
So that's, I think, what makes it like, that's what makes me feel so, I don't know, feel so at home when I'm here. Yeah.
I personally am so curious about this last question I wanted to ask you. How is it working with TCKs as a TCK yourself? Like, do you notice any similarities, differences, since they are now Gen Alpha, right? The younger ones are Gen Alpha.
I feel for them when it comes to the language barrier.
Yeah.
Because like I shared my experience with you about like how like the journey that I had, right?
Yeah.
So as much as possible, I think I tried to create a program with my team, of course not alone, like a program that's supportive when it comes to the language, English language support. And like I can like tell them with confidence, like this, like you're gonna get through this, like, you know, like I have that experience too, and I hope working with an educator who has the same lived experience like comforts them, because we started a boarding program last January. So we now have like students, for example, from Korea who would come join our school like around the time they're in like middle school or like first year of high school. So like for them especially, it's a lot harder because they've never attended a school where everything's taught in English. And like I know it's really tough for them, but at the same time I try to give them some tough love when it's needed, because like I know that sometimes it has to be that way. And when it comes to the generational gap, I don't really see it. I don't really see like I think sometimes like I'm just so amazed by my students. I would be like, you know, because that's like the sort of like the typical like understanding or attitude that the older generations have on the like towards the younger generations, right? Oh, in my days, like I had it, like it was much tougher, harder, you know, like oh, you're so privileged, that kind of attitude. But when I look at my students, like I'm like, was I that mature at that age? Like
probably.
I was gonna say, game knows game.
I'm like, was I that open-minded? And like my students amaze me in so many ways that like it's just like sometimes it's just I'm just so grateful to work with them. And just like that generation gap is something, you know, I think it's just like it's like if you it just feels like there's a huge gap because we put labels on them. But like I think if we ask ourselves like what were we like when we were at that age in that exact same situation, like I don't think like many of us would be able to say with confidence that I could have done it better, right? Because like Gen Alpha, Gen Z, the society is completely different from the ones that we grew up in. Like there's a book that I recently read. It's one of the New York Times bestseller. Like you have to read it. It's called The Anxious Generation.
The Anxious Generation?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's about Gen Zs and Gen Alpha and like so Gen Zs and Gen Alpha is like they significantly have higher rates of depression and anxiety. Yeah. And like we kind of tend to think that it's because of like all the like things that are going on in our society, but it's not. It has to do with social media and the internet and like the exposure that they have to those platforms at such a young age. And like we kind of like created an environment where it was like thrown at them without enough research being done, without enough like reviews of practices and like research and studies, that of course they're gonna have a hard time. But I think as adults, like understanding that is so important rather than being like, oh, you're a Gen Alpha or Gen Z. And something that I try to be a bit more mindful of as an educator too, because you know like if we label them in certain ways, like it puts a limit to the work that we can do with them, right? And the potentials. So I would say like I don't feel like huge differences when I work with Gen Zs or Gen Alpha. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, yeah.
Well, that's great.
Like our generation, the millennials, like growing up, like we also had like that unhealthy exposure to certain platforms. Like for example, girls, like growing up, like we had access to magazines, right? Like and like body image and all that, but the models that were like portrayed in on those platforms, of course, they were airbrushed and photoshopped, but those are not like people that we can easily compare ourselves to. Like they're models. Those are their jobs. But now like Instagram, like TikTok or whatever, like
average people,
right? Average people like of their age, so like there's more stress when it comes to comparing themselves to these figures, because like these are also teenagers of my age who are like regular people, but they look so pretty. They look so pretty. They have all these stuff. So like the stress that comes from that sort of content is much bigger compared to what we experience. And like when I read that part, I was just like, wow, like it's just like different time, different society, and it's just like we really have to change perspectives on how we look at the younger generations and like also like ask ourselves like what can we do more for them.
That's great. Well, this was very enlightening. We really enjoyed having you, Hope. I think I can speak on Hannah's part too. I loved just to hear just your from being born in Korea to your experience in Thailand, going back to Korea, going back to America, and back and forth. You've been to these spots like several times. But it's awesome to see where God is, what God is doing in your life, and that you really have this passion inside of you to give back to what was given to you. That's not many people do that. Go back to their roots and give back. So that's very inspiring. Yeah.
I hope I didn't overshare or like speak too much.
We love it.
Oh, no,
we love going deep.
Not at all. This is the whole purpose of our podcast is to get to know people and appreciate it. And selfishly, we learn things from you guys.
Yeah, we really do.
So it's awesome. But I hope that you all were able to learn something new. And if you have any thoughts or questions or comments, please leave them down below if you're watching the YouTube feed. If not, we are also on several different podcast platforms.
5 stars only.
Yes. That's one of the biggest ways right now as we continue to grow the channels that you can support us is by commenting, 5-star ratings on any platform you use, YouTube, of course. And yeah, in the meantime, is there anything else you ladies can think of before we sign off?
Not really.
Like and subscribe.
Look at you.
Go home.
Oh, wow. She must be a YouTuber. Please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell for future videos. And yeah, God bless. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.